thank you for joining us on this beautiful day on Aso Television. It's Aso Briefing, and I am Joy Annie. Let's begin with our headlines. FCT Minister Barrister Wike to inspect flood-prone areas defends FCT flood response. And of course, Osun political sphere urged to unite ahead of 2027 general elections. Highlights is on INEC preparedness. And on business, Nigeria headline inflation rate declines to 15.43% in July 2026. Food inflation rises to 20.31%. You're watching Aso Briefing. We are live on DSTV channel 392, also on Star Times TV channel 127 and Free TV channel 507. We are also on the UHF band on channel 38. Now let's take you through all our stories. Now, the FCT Minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, will lead an inspection of flood-prone areas in Maitama as well as infrastructure project along the Southern Parkway and Isa corridor. The inspection follows Saturday's heavy rainfall, which caused flooding in parts of Abuja and renewed concerns over the city's drainage infrastructure. The minister is expected to access the causes of flooding in Maitama and identify measures to prevent a recurrence before proceeding to inspect ongoing infrastructure work along the Southern Parkway and Asia corridor. Meanwhile, Barrister Wike's aide on public communication and social media, Larry Olayinka, had defended the FCT administration response to the flooding. Olayinka said flooding in Abuja predates the current administration, citing similar incidents in 2019 and 2022. He attributed the latest flooding partly to Abuja's rapid expansion, inadequate drainage and poor waste management, as well as the activities of scavengers who remove drainage covers. Olayinka also said the FCT administration is reviewing the 1979 Abuja Master Plan to reflect current realities while introducing more secure drainage covers. Well, he maintained that improved urban planning, effective drainage systems, proper waste management and enforcement of development regulations remains critical to addressing flooding in nation's capital. Now let's take you to the Area Council. The Abaji Area Council administration, under the leadership of the chairman, Alhaji Abubakar Umar Abdullahi, has officially conducted the 2026 tender bid opening exercise at the Abuja Area Council Conference Hall Secretariat. A statement issued by the chairman's chief press secretary, Comrade Abu Muhammad, said the chairman, Alhaji Abubakar Umar Abdullahi, was ably represented by the exercise by the council secretary, Mr. Agbaga Audu, who attended the official opening of the bids. Speaking on behalf of the chairman, Mr. Agaba Audu assured all participants bidders that the procurement process will be conducted with utmost transparency, fairness and accountability in strict compliance with due process and relevant procurement guidelines. He emphasized that the council administration remains committed to ensuring a credible and transparent procurement process that provides equal opportunities to all qualified bidders while promoting value for public resources. Mr. Agaba Audu thereafter officially declared the 2026 tender bid opening exercise open and proceeded with the formal opening of the submitted bids in the presence of participating bidders and relevant officials. The exercise forms part of Abaji Area Council Administration's commitment to strengthening transparency, accountability and due process in implementation of its development programs and projects across the Area Council. Now, in attendance were a representative of the FCT Minister, the Council Director of Administration, Chief of Staff to the Chairman, Head of Procurement and Logistics, all supervisory councillors from various departments, Senior Special Assistants, Heads of Department, among others. Now let's take you to a bit of the happenings in Osun State. The national chairman of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Professor Sadiq Gombe, has described the outcome of the Osun State governorship election as a major lesson for Nigeria's political parties ahead of the 2027 general elections. Gombe made this known at a news briefing in Abuja. Now that the dust, let's hear that story.
Professor Umar Sadiq Gombe noted that SDP's inability to participate fully in the Osun election was largely due to the late resolution of a court case concerning its governorship candidate and the subsequent delay in obtaining a certified true copy of the judgment. Professor Gombe used the occasion to commend the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for what it described as a professional conduct of the poll.
If the people of Osun will come out and stand out and defend their mandate, I dare challenge my fellow northerners that bear the brunt more than any other part of this country and the southeast. In fact, even the southwest is something that I go everywhere. So if the people of Osun will come out and do what they did to rescue their country, then the people of Zamfara, the people of Katsina, the people of Maiduguri, Yobe, Sokoto are better placed in a position to come out and do much more than what the people of Osun did.
The SDP chairman said one of the major lessons from the election was the Nigerian voters could reject the influence of political parties and vote according to their convictions. Gombe, however, raised concerns over the scale of security and personnel deployed during the Osun election, saying the experience presented another major challenge for the 2027 general election.
Because the last election it was 30-something, 33, 34, the turnout, which is worth about 26 million out of 93 million registered voters. It's not even up to 30%. The last turnout in the general elections is 20-something. So in Osun it was 49% turnout, despite all that happens. Critical leaders of opposition parties, indeed even the ruling party, they will not shy away to tell you that yes, SDP, in fairness, your candidate is the best for the job, has the best of understanding of Nigeria, is the best in terms of character, in terms of confidence, in terms of capacity, in terms of knowledge. But nonetheless, are we ready for SDP? I say you might not be ready for SDP. Nigerians are ready for SDP, but we are going to see that from Osun. And just like prophecy came through, the Osun people have proven that yes, if they believe in something, you will go for it.
The SDP chairman also appealed to opposition political parties to learn from Osun and consider forming a credible coalition ahead of 2027, adding that any proposed alliance must be based on national interests rather than the personal ambitions of individual politicians. Topsy Gimba, reporting for Aso Television News.
Well, now that the dust is settling on the Osun governorship election, the bigger question is not just who won or who lost, but what the election has revealed about the capacity of our electoral umpire. Now, to help us examine that, we are joined by Aso TV analyst, Mr. Topsy Gimba. Mr. Topsy, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me on the program, Joy.
You actually look like a political candidate. Are you sure you won't run for a position?
I'm working towards that.
Okay, I'll be your first supporter. So at least you have one already.
Sure.
Okay, now let's just look at the happenings in Osun State. You know, using the just concluded election in Osun as a prototype of INEC's preparedness for the much larger 2027 elections. Now, we heard INEC assured of logistics and technological readiness for the Osun poll, and the election ended with Governor Demola Adeleke winning and declared the winner. Now that the INEC's preparedness actually translated into an improved electoral process, or were there gaps that a commission must urgently address?
What we we saw just last Saturday were something to go by. Very certain that indeed INEC is fully prepared. I remember I've had series of meetings, attending some of the briefings organized by the INEC, by the commission itself, where they constantly told Nigerians that what we're likely to see in most of these off-cycle elections, particularly the Osun that came out to be the last one before general election, Professor George Amoputan constantly told Nigerians that he will actually make sure that what is required to be done to create transparency and clarity in the entire process, that will be seen. And I'm not surprised, you know, most of us that had the opportunity of watching what was actually going on, we noticed that indeed INEC was fully prepared in terms of providing beavers. The beavers were working to a certain level, and they also provided the backup beavers in case there's a failure anywhere. They will not transport those ones there immediately. But of course, at the first time they took off, we noticed everything worked very smoothly. Most people who cast their votes didn't waste time in trying to identify themselves using their face or either their thumbprint to be identified before they go to cast their vote. And that shows indeed to a very large extent. Coming to uploading of the results on the IRF, we now saw that, you know, that created an impact in the minds of the people of Osun and even Nigerians that indeed what we're expecting to see going forward in 2027 is likely going to be the best compared to what we used to see before the coming of Professor George Amoputan as the national chairman of the commission.
Now, I'm still going to ask this question in a different way, though. But we've seen several state elections. It goes well, local government and all of that. They all go well. But does this 2027 election coming forth, does the Osun election tell us about INEC's readiness for this 2027? Looking at the fact that some of the state election, they go well. We don't have issues. But when it comes to the major election, that's the presidency and the other ones, there are always bottlenecks here and there.
Yeah, that's quite a very good question, Joe. I must tell you this. Why you notice some off-cycle election or either a minimized size of an election, like either at the state or local government, and then you now notice what is required to be done by INEC, it is done very effectively. That is very obvious because in terms of size, that can be controlled easily. But in Nigeria, it's a very large country with about 230 million, and the registered voters could be as 100 plus or 90. And INEC is expected to make sure that anybody that registered and is expected to cast his or her vote must be sure that the processes are quite very necessary and important. And so if that is cascaded at the national level, you now discover that many things might come into play and slow down the process. You know, there are still some places today in Nigeria that the network services are not well provided there. And so those equipment, they use network in discharging what is required for people to get out of it at the end of the day. And so that again becomes an equivalence to successful carrying out of the processes required to have a very clean election at the national level. But at the state or either local government, that can be minimized. It's minimized already. And so to take control of those things becomes so easy for the INEC to do that. But, you know, and again, if you look at it in some other places, they are not reachable easily. Like in the creeks, you know, network sometimes find it very difficult to access that. Except Glow, I'm very sorry to mention that network. That you can see it in the sea. Other ones they stop by the offshore, and so anybody that is going to the creek might find it very difficult to access network, and that creates an impact in coming out with a credible result at the end of the day. But INEC is fully prepared despite all these challenges. I must tell you, John.
Okay. What lessons do you think INEC should get from this just concluded election with all the drama?
Yeah, of course. I believe INEC too will go back to the drawing board, looking at what it did in Osun and what it has done previously, and make comparison, so that at the end of the day, the hope of Nigeria will not be dashed. Dashed in the sense, let the commission rather continue with where it stopped, with the way it carried out the Osun governorship election and cascaded at the national level, so that at the end of the day, the desired result is expected. It might not be completely 100%, but let it be near perfection, so that at the end of the day, Nigeria cannot say, indeed, Nigeria were getting it right than any other in the time past. We were aspiring to become, you know, one of the best in this continent, and it could be compared to these European countries or either America in terms of conducting election. And I believe George is trying to do that, looking at the way many things are put together. He constantly briefs us in many things that are required to be done. And even those that are considered stakeholders that are equally being briefed on daily basis. So it is quite very sustainable, and believe that indeed it's going to be successful at the end of the day when we go closer to 2027 election. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be the date set aside that INEC has set aside for the takeoff of campaign for all political parties. You know, we have 22 or thereabouts political parties that are registered. And so I believe to a very large extent tomorrow we're going to see so many things going forward till January 16, 2027.
I wouldn't even want to bore you with all the happenings that came up before the election, but now I was going to ask this question. You've been around politics for a while, you've seen several elections. Now, the statement that was made in Osun State, do you think there should be any form of sanction, maybe from INEC or from the political parties, or just any sanction, you know, to curb this kind of thing further?
Yeah, of course. I had the opportunity of listening to the senator. I know him because I cover Senate. He's a serving senator, Father Osin. That is Francis Father Osin. He represents Osun East. He is a member of All Progressives Congress. And for the fact that the people of Osun are more like people of the Accord party, so to speak. And he is actually standing in for the election in 2027. So he feels, or he was feeling that indeed, for him to make that statement and to show that it creates a way for him to have it very clean when it comes to his own election in 2027. But that statement was quite very bad, even though he struggled to redefine the statement by saying the use of the word kill wasn't directly meant to be so. Metaphorically, he said kill, not necessarily carrying knives or gun and be shooting people in the street because they are members of the of Accord party. He came out to say that. But again, that statement was very wrong, because look at the time when he said this. Time is very important whenever somebody makes a statement. You have to consider at what point you are saying, in which place, to which people you are referring that to. So that it doesn't escalate to a level that you cannot control. Now, today, very many in Nigeria, after the election, people are really saying that he should be apprehended and tried in the best way possible, because it has created a different understanding in the minds of Nigerians when he now came out to say what he said. And of course, similar statements by others should be careful. Is it like the way the governor of Edo that was trying to disrespect the governor in his own state by saying whatever he wanted to say? But again, he got it back when the nephew of the governor actually published his results, you know, for Nigeria to see on the social media. So we need to be very careful when, though you might have your way in saying what to say, but say it in a way it's supposed to be understood, looking at the time and the place and to which people are you addressing.
Political drama. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you, Mr. Topsy. I hope you answer us when next we call you.
I'm always there for you. You are my person, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Topsy. Okay, when Aso Briefing return, we'll give you business and more stories to stay with us. Now, many thanks for staying there. That was Mr. Topsy Gemba, ASO's very own analyst. Now, in preparations, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, has asked the International Air Transport Association, IATA, to review the current QRW code assigned to Osubi Airport in Delta State, saying the code does not accurately reflect the airport's official name or its location in Osubi town near Warri. Although the airport serves the Warri metropolitan area and is sometimes referred to as Warri Airport, The federal government insists that its proper geographical designation is Osubi Airport. The minister has suggested that IATA consider alternative codes including OSU, OSB, SUB and QSB subject to availability and IATA's coding standards, as he directed airlines operating at the airport to ensure that tickets, boarding passes, passage tags and other passengers' documents identify the airport as Osubi Delta State. Now, the NCAA, FAN, NAMA and other relevant aviation agencies have similarly been directed to update their records, systems and publication to reflect the designation. The minister says the move is aimed at ensuring accuracy and consistency across Nigeria's aviation and travel systems and avoiding confusion for passengers and other stakeholders. The federal government says the review is intended to strengthen Osubi Airport's identity while recognizing its important role in serving the wider Warri metropolitan area. Now, preparations are gathering momentum for the 2026 Nigeria-China Food Festival as the National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism, NIHO Tour, and the China Cultural Center step up collaboration ahead of the event. The Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NIHO Tour, Are Abisoye Fagabe, met with the Director of the China Cultural Center and Cultural Councillor in Nigeria, Mr. Yang Jianjing, as part of follow-up engagement on the festival. The meeting focused on key areas of preparation for the Nigeria-China Food Festival 2026. Discussions covered program coordination, logistics, culinary and cultural showcases, stakeholders' participation, and other collaborative effort aimed at ensuring a stressful event. The engagement also reaffirmed the commitment of NIHO Tour and the China Cultural Center to using food, culture and hospitality to promote mutual understanding and strengthen people-to-people relations between Nigeria and China. The organizers say the festival will further provide an opportunity to deepen the long-standing friendship and cultural ties between two countries through culinary exchange and shared cultural experiences. The Nigeria-China Food Festival 2026 is expected to bring together stakeholders from the hospitality, culinary and cultural sectors as preparation continue ahead of the event. And now the European Union has announced 2.3 million euros in emergency humanitarian funding to support Nigeria, Cameroon, the Central African Republic and Chad in responding to the ongoing cholera epidemic. According to the World Health Organization, more than 61,000 cholera cases were reported across Africa in the first 5 months of 2026. In a statement, the EU spokesperson said Nigeria will receive the largest share of 1.5 million euros, Cameroon 100,000 euros, while Central African Republic will receive 500,000 euros. The funding will support the deployment of more intervention teams and provide essential supplies including cholera kits. It also will strengthen water sanitation and hygiene measures, including the treatment of public water points and household water supplies. The European Union says the support will further intensify epidemiological surveillance in hard-to-reach areas while strengthening case management, risk communication and community sensitization. It added that another 200,000 euros will go to Chad to help break the chain of cholera transmission through improved access to safe water sanitation and hygiene, as well as community support for surveillance and case management. The European Union says the emergency funding is aimed to helping the affected countries contain the outbreak and prevent further transmission, particularly in communities with limited access to safe water and health care. Let's move on now. The federal government has announced the evacuation of another 83 Nigerians from South Africa, with the returnees expected to arrive the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, Lagos tomorrow, August 19, 2026. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the returnees would travel on South African Airways, departing the Oliver Tambo Airport in Johannesburg at 3:35 p.m. local time and arriving in Lagos at approximately 8:45 p.m. the same same day. The ministry said the latest batch was facilitated through the intervention and sponsorship of flight tickets by public-spirited private individuals who support it acknowledged with gratitude. The development comes after conclusion of the federal government voluntary repatriation program, which saw nearly 1,490 Nigerians repatriated from South Africa amid rising Afrophobic attacks and anti-foreigner sentiments in the country. According to the ministry, the federal government remains committed to safeguarding the welfare and dignity of Nigerians at home and abroad under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. It said the government, through its citizen diplomacy agenda, considers Nigeria in the diaspora as critical asset for national development and remains committed to their protection and well-being. The ministry also commended private individuals and philanthropists who had supported the latest evacuation, describing their intervention as an example of the whole of society approach and public-private collaboration. Now, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, says the second edition of the ECOWAS Startup Award is designed to identify and empower promising businesses across the region, with more than 6,000 startups already expressing interest. The ECOWAS Award Startup, organized by the ECOWAS Commission and other agencies, held a news conference to highlight the criteria and objectives for the award. I was there. Here is the report. The event, which will take place at the new ECOWAS building, scheduled from September 21st to 30, seeks to accelerate innovation across member states as micro, small and medium enterprises continue to grapple with bottlenecks, mostly taxes, that affect their development, growth and ability to scale innovative solutions. The ECOWAS Acting Directorate of Private Sector and Industry, Mr. Onoye Peter, prefers solution to these challenges.
I agree that multiple taxation is a big constraint to the survival of startups. But if you ask the average policymaker, he wants to up revenue. For us in investment promotion and enterprise development, we want to achieve business survival, conducive investment climate, create jobs. So you find that the two of them seem to contradict, right? So we want to create an equilibrium position where we will all agree on what to do.
As part of the procedures, independent assessors will screen the applicants and select 60 startups before narrowing the field to 20 finalists who will pitch their products. Emphasis show the program will cover key sectors including fintech, health technology, agriculture and food systems, clean energy, climate and green innovation, as well as tourism travel technology.
Another element that is important after the master class and then after this process have finished is what we call accelerator program. They will also go through accelerator program for the next 6 months. That will also build their capacity to be able to support their businesses and build the economy of our region.
The selected startups will also benefit from a 5-day masterclass and a 6-month accelerator program aimed at building capacity that attracts investment, creating jobs and strengthening innovation in the West Africa's economic ecosystem. The winner is expected to get $30,000, while the first runner-up gets $20,000 and the third position $15,000. Which totals the set aside for the project to $65,000. Joy Annie, Aso Television News. Now, Nigeria's headline inflation rate declines to 15.43% in July 2026 from the 15.91% recorded in June 2026. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, in its latest Consumer Price Index, CPI, disclosed that the July 2026 figure also represents a significant decline when compared with the 24.94% recorded in July 2025, while noting that this is following the recent rebasing of the CPI to a 2024 base year and a 2023 wage reference period. The NBS explained that the CPI rose to 145 points in July, representing an increase of 2.2% from the preceding month. The Bureau acknowledged that despite the moderation in headline inflation, food prices continued to exert significant pressure on households, with food inflation rate rising to 20.31% on a year-on-year basis in July 2026. The NBS attributed the increase in the food inflation rate to changes in the average prices of several food items, including, among others, fresh pepper, tomatoes, onions, plantain, beef, eggs, and ginger. According to the statement, the Adamawa state recorded the highest year-on-year all-item inflation rate at 33.03%, while Nasarawa state recorded the lowest year-on-year in food inflation rate at 7.86%. But that's what we can take on Aso Briefing today. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day ahead, and do stay with us for our flagship news at 3 p.m. I am Joy Annie. Good afternoon.